Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve all the recommendations except for number 3.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark to approve the recommendations from the County Board Workshop on July 9th, with the exclusion of item number 3.
Can you state that?
Which one it is?
Recommendation, the one that's.
That would
being
be
excluded?
the payment for 2024 for the Wright County Economic Development Partnership. All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark with all the items except for the item number 3. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair, again, I don't think they understand the motion is to approve.
The motion was
9
to approve all the
9 out of
recommendations except for 3.
Right, so no one wants to approve anything?
I think they're just looking to make a separate motion potentially. Well, let me finish my first ask for a second, but there's no discussion until I have a second. Is there a second? Hearing none, motion dies for the lack of a second. Now at this time, we can entertain any other motions.
I'll make a motion to approve all the recommendations as stated.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich to approve the recommendations as presented. And we have a second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So we didn't spend any time talking about the employee engagement survey report because we ran out of time or interest or both, I'm not sure, at the workshop, but I'll just reference it for the board that there was at least one question that pertained to the county board in that survey, and I don't want that to go unnoticed because the 300 or so people that completed it did answer that question. So I guess it's on your own time. You can go look at it, but I want to reference that there is one question in that survey that applied to the county board. Okay?
All right.
And I'm kind of baffled as to why it's not okay to part out everything but 1 and why we can't take a separate motion on number 3. I don't understand that. It happened once before and I clarified it and then we went on allowing that. So I guess I'd like some discussion as to what the trouble is with separating that.
I think it still gets the same effect. I don't think your point has been made that you're planning to vote for all of them. To me, this is more of a political play of saying, well, you know, we're not going to give you that luxury of voting for them all separately. It's the board's collective ability to manage the agenda how they do it based on 3 votes. To me, you've made your point that obviously you're not in favor of 3, but you're in favor of all the rest. And I get your point that you don't want to have to vote against all the other ones just in order to vote for the one.
Well, right. I guess I don't understand the gamesmanship, and you're speaking for the other 2, but maybe.
But they made the motions. That's the only
I was
reason I can say that. You know?
Well, can we hear from?
I was confused. I would like more engagement. I was thinking that recommendation was to move forward with the engagement survey to the next meeting. So now that I'm reading it, it says to do the engagement survey to move forward with the plans. Because we didn't talk about it at all. We didn't talk about the engagement service at all.
No.
Blew it over and said that'll be at the next workshop.
No, we didn't. We said, we're running out of time here. As administration asked, is everyone good with the engagement study and going forward? And everyone said yes. My point was just bringing up in discussion that because we glossed over it, kind of the perception is that we didn't take any time to discuss what 300 of our staff filled out. That was just my point in discussion. If take the time to look at it if you haven't, because we haven't talked about it here.
I think that is something that's like a living, breathing document until you do your next engagement survey. I don't expect it in my mind. It wasn't like we didn't discuss it that day. To me, it's like it's something that we keep going back to until you do one that's more relevant at a future date. So to me, it's always relevant, always necessary. We can discuss it almost at every meeting because almost everything that we do should pertain at some level to that engagement survey. So I understand your point that it didn't get maybe the limelight that it did there, but I think it can get its limelight at multiple other subsequent meetings.
And it
that point, I
could.
think the other part was too, is like to moving forward was, a lot of it was, my thought was the direction to staff to move forward with the external survey, which was which is better being outlined in this recommendation, was to move forward kind of with the one that is live right now, which I encourage people in the public to take our external survey of county services.
Mr. Chair, and I didn't write the wording, but the wording under number 9 was to review the employment engagement survey report, to review it, and we didn't. So I just think in fairness to the 300 that took the time, and I'll leave it at that. But
Yeah.
it sounds like there's confusion over this motion yet. Because-
I really did when I read that. I left that meeting thinking that we were going to be talking about this at the next workshop. So I would hope that we disseminate it a little bit. So yes, there is staff that filled it out, and we're very appreciative of that. And that's why I do think, I'm sure there's some things that we need to move forward with now, with things that you guys want to implement. But I think for the large scale, I do think we should have a discussion on it.
So, but I'm
Mr.
confused. Your
Mr. Chair.
motion was to approve all the recommendations minus 3, not removal of 9.
Right,
And theirs was to remove all of them. But we're discussing 9, not 3. So I'm
Right.
a little bit confused here.
I was in the discussion phase, Mr. Chair, of the engagement study, and I said my piece on that. Now, the others, take your time or no time to look at the survey if you wish. Now, if you want to petition that onto a future, you can. So that's my only piece. So now we could, but now we're still in that discussion phase for like this coverall, and I don't know if you two understood where I was coming from, like another meeting where then you said, oh, okay, we thought it was something else, and then you agreed with approving them all except for, in this case, number 3, and then one of you can make a motion to deal with 3 separately. It only parts it out, which me saying I'm okay with 1 through 9, but most likely not 3. Is that just?
But you made your motion, it didn't get a second. I made a motion, it got a second. We're having that discussion based on that motion. I mean, that's just the process.
But the last time, the point was that people admitted that they didn't understand it, right? Remember that? And then it
Well,
changed.
sometimes
I
they
don't
do. think
recall
they knew-
that.
I think they knew what they were doing because they
No.
could have done that. They knew what they were doing.
The first
They
time?
chose to. Yes, they knew what they're doing the first time. I think I think they're quite intelligent and they understand what they're doing. They're forcing your hand sometimes. Like, how bad do you want to vote against the EDP? Are you willing to vote against everything because you want to vote that bad against it? They're forcing your hand by not giving you the luxury to vote for it on a one-by-one basis.
Okay.
Sometimes that is it's a political tool or a strategy you could use to somebody.
But Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear, what I mean by the first time was like a couple weeks ago when this happened, and they said, oh, we thought it was something else, and then it changed, and then it was allowed to do the 1 through, except for 1. That's my point, is just the past, once they understood it. But if they want to hold their ground, I guess, take the vote.
All right, there, we do have a motion and we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So 2-2. So now so the recommendations fail. Now we're going to get deep into my, in order to make a motion forward, it has to come from a descending side of the vote. So in order
Can
to,
we remake the motion?
what?
Can we remake the motion?
You can make a new motion, yes, as a descending vote.
I'll make a motion that we approve all recommendations, excluding 9 of the Wright County Engagement to be pushed forward to the next workshop.
All right.
Mr. Chair, can I help with the conversation just a bit? I think what we're looking to do is to remove item 9 from the recommendations, to take a separate vote on it,
Okay,
and to approve items 1 through 8. Is that what you're looking for, Commissioner Hall? Take separate action on item 9?
yes, there.
Yes. So we have a motion to approve
10. There's
1
10.
through, so we're,
1 through 8 and 10.
and 10.
10B.
Removing number 9 for separate consideration.
all items with the removal of 9. All right, so motion by Commissioner Holland to approve the county board workshop items recommendations 1 through 9, or all of them except for 9. All right. And do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any discussion? I think 9, whether we approve it or don't approve it, it doesn't matter because we can still come back and have the discussion. It's purely, it's not even a recommendation as it is an informational item. It could have been listed as an informational item that the engagement survey was presented to the board. So yes, we've seen it. Is there a chance to have more discussion? Yes, we can put it on every board, every workshop if we want for the rest of the year, if that makes the board happy. I just wanted people to understand that it's not a really actionable item per se.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I can maybe comment on that. At the board meeting, we were running short on time, and so we offered to just briefly offer commissioners an opportunity to comment on it. We're happy to come back and present on it, have a whole presentation already put together, so it won't really take any more work. If you'd like, in August, we can bring it back to the workshop and present and just get consensus of the group a little more thoroughly than we did before. Happy to do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
All right. Sorry. Workshop agenda approved for 3-1. All right, now we have to deal with item 9. I don't even necessarily know that we even need to take action on it because there's no action to it. The survey's already been done. It was just purely acknowledging that it was discussed in there, which it was already approved in the minutes. So I don't necessarily know that's even an actionable item. But if the board wants to take action on it, they certainly can.
Mr. Chair, I think we can just move the discussion on the employee engagement survey to the workshop in August. Happy to bring it forward at that
I
time.
think that'd be, because there's no changes to it or anything. So I think that makes sense. All right. Now we are on to the last one is D1. We have approve the reimbursement for money spent on the connection with the FELSA, a journal entry budget amendment. Pardon me.
Good morning, board.
Morning again.
This is a request to approve a journal entry and budget amendment. It is related to a known calculation, missing calculation, we'll say, in the Oracle system at the time we went live on phase 2, which is the payroll. We began discussions with Sierra Cedar in October as we were preparing for go live. They called our attention to this, that the calculation for the FLSA credit was not working out correctly and they needed more time to do it. And we would be delaying our go live timeline if we held off on ensuring that this credit was in the system prior to go live. Staff discussed this. We included the sheriff's office in this discussion and decision-making for their awareness. And ultimately, based on the timeline, it was a decision on our end to move forward without this calculation, knowing that hours incurred by the sheriff's office, who is predominantly impacted by the FLSA credit, would be at their lower end. Summer is when they typically have the higher end of these FLSA eligible hours, where we would have this credit effect. Unfortunately, in May, an incident occurred increasing the liabilities on our FLSA, being that we were not allowed to take the credit. It caused a larger dollar amount than originally anticipated. So we are requesting that we make the sheriff's office whole for this item, which is outside of their control.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, that just makes sense to me. Let's just fix this problem and moving forward, it's all been adjusted and it'll be correct moving forward.
The correction was put into place on June 6th, so the credit is now being taken as we are allowed.
It was the most cost-effective, prudent way to move forward. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment with the changes for the FELSA journal entry.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, it is now 10:45. We've come to the end of today's board meeting, so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there was one item you did add at the beginning of the meeting, and that was to schedule a committee hold to to discuss items 4 and 5 from items for consideration.
Oh, yes, oh, you're right. Schedule, correct. Thank you for catching that. So with that, let's look to find a date here when we want to circle back on those said 2 positions and how we want to move forward. So it looks like I would say we don't want to go too far. I would ideally like to do something next week to keep the ball rolling on it since this Friday is out. So what does everybody look like next week?
Pretty good. Is Nadine around?
Yeah, she's back. She's available next week.
When does she go to Louisiana?
Not until in August, I believe.
Okay.
With the 30th in a week, would that work?
The 30th is good for me.
Do we have the canvas work group or is that?
Two.
The what?
Will that give us enough time in
Yeah,
between?
that's on.
One. We could do it in the morning.
Yeah, we could do it in the morning. I'm good.
Schedule something in the morning that day?
We scheduled a tentative board meeting at 9 a.m. depending on the.
Yeah, so we could do that.
So we could do 10.
Yeah,
Want to do it
let's do
10
it.
o'clock? Yep. So I'll entertain a motion to schedule a committee of the whole on July 30th at 10 a.m.
Mr. Chair, just for clarity, will we have the information we need at that point, or we'll just be discussing what we will be reviewing?
Well, I guess information is really largely driven by the board because based on earlier discussions, you wanted to define a process, and then there was just things brought up about job descriptions and such. Those things can't be done without the collective discussion of the board, and we have to have we ran a little bit short on time this morning too.
For sure.
So I think it's more of a continuation of those discussions and what that
Okay.
process
I just want to
means
clarify
for
what
an
the
interim-
intent was.
Yep. So it's more about discussing because we don't have a hard and fast process when appointing interims in this organization. So it's more to define what that process is. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to schedule a committee of the whole for the said items for the 2 interim positions at 10 a.m. on July 30th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Holland,
No, second.
second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The committee of the whole is scheduled for 10 a.m. on July 30th unanimously. All right. We are now at the end of today's agenda. I just wanted to quickly note that Central Mississippi Regional Planning Group, which is for the river crossing, was very graciously blessed through deed with a $1 million grant to go forward with the Tier 1 environmental process. So that'll be a substantial savings to the region on getting that very costly analysis done as it is required as part of the NEPA process to move forward with that potential crossing.
Will that cover the whole cost?
Pardon me?
Will that cover the whole cost of that?
No,
study?
will not. The Tier 1 environmentals, it could be anywhere from $2 to $3 million. So, but it will cover a good chunk of it, though.
Congratulations, yes.
Yes. All right.
Mr. Chair, I just have to add one thing. I know that we are all in and out of the office, and sometimes if constituents want to get a hold of us, our information is on the website, but I'd like to give my cell phone, my work cell phone number and my email, so that if there is any questions that I could answer anytime that people want to meet or invite us to events, that I'm certainly available. So my email is tina.m.diedrich@co.wright.mn.us. And my cell phone number, I always have to look this up, is 612-477-1785. And those are both my county contacts. So please, I would encourage anybody that needs some help with anything, that would like to meet and discuss items, please contact me and we can certainly do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Dietrich. At this time, we will adjourn today's county board meeting at 10:50 a.m.